see a hand. Oh my word.
There we go. As I said before, hello. Nice to see you after all these years.
You know, I'm so often asked what was my favourite find on Time Team, but this has got to rank in my top 2 or 3.
You've got a new one now, yes.
Okay, so I'm at the York Archaeological Trust. I'm here to pick up the block that was lifted from Sutton Hoo in the last week of our excavations there. And this is the block that contains the base of the Bromeswell Bucket. Sophie and I are off to the University of Bradford to put it in the CT scanner and put it on its next stage of its excavation process. And hopefully we'll get a glimpse of what's inside.
It's actually, the bits we found are in relatively good condition, so I don't see why that base shouldn't be, you know, pretty sound.
Except they do tend not to be.
As I say, that is what is so brilliant about this, is that it does look like, sorry, I'm not looking at the bling, I'm looking at the bone in the bottom as usual. That bit of that formation process does look to have survived, which is excellent.
So I'm back here at York Archaeology, and today is when we start to micro-excavate. And today is such a special day for me because I've never been in a position where I've been fortunate enough to be able to do something like this. So Jackie's going to be micro-excavating the bucket with Sophie, the conservator, on hand to deal with the objects and the pieces of the bucket as they come out. And then as the soil is getting excavated away, I'll be jumping in and having a look, and we're going to be doing that as we go down every spit in every quadrant. So yeah, it's quite a unique opportunity to have. So by absolute fluke, the first bag that I've picked up is the first bag of soil that went through on site, which actually produced beautiful fragments of bone comb. And we've got another piece to add to it. I know it doesn't look like much, but those teeny tiny pieces can be put back together to make something quite beautiful. First bag. Oh look, we found some bone.
Some goodies in there. That's what we've been expecting, and we're getting a colour change there now.
Right, so we've got the whole of the edge, Sophie, there. It's coming right the way around.
Yeah.
So if we have lost anything, it's a tiny bit just here, I think, because it should start coming round again. Yeah. And actually looking at it, you can see there's odd little bits of fuel ash here, and I think that slightly darker material in there is probably very fine particle fuel ash that's making it just that little bit darker. What we need Tom to tell us is which side of it, is it this side, that comey thing, or the thing with rivets was on? Oh, so it's right up against that edge, isn't it, really? Okay. Is that the base? That's not the base already, is it? I wonder if it is. There, look. Here.
Yeah.
See, it's just coming through.
Yeah, it's a nice green.
And it actually looks quite solid as well.
God, all that looking at it, and there it is.
What I might do is take that other half out as well, so if we can get that half too, you can do the whole lot, and then I'll tidy it up and when we'll do photographs. Okay? I don't think there's going to be much of the vessel on this side, so...
You can clearly see here that there is a rift between the wall of the vessel and the base of the vessel.
You're not sure about that?
Mostly what I can see at the moment is long bones. That one there, I think it's a talus. It's a very distinctive shape. It's got two surfaces, two articular surfaces at angles to each other. And then this one here, I think is going to be a piece of tibia. You can see that's got that really sharp angle there. That's the bit, if somebody kicks you, it hurts. So I think we're going to be able, and I think that bit looks like it's going to be animal bone. I'll know better when I can see it in full. But we did get quite a lot of animal bone from the last lot of, the stuff we saw on site. And that's basically a pyre good. At this time, you might expect to get quite a lot of horse, for instance, possibly. Because certainly a lot of the early Anglo-Saxon burials from East Anglia had a lot of horse in them. They're what you call a status animal. Horse and dog you would get, and they're kind of status beasts.
Is that the only bit of it there?
None of it here, it's in situ. It's just a bit that's come off. I mean, you can see it almost like, can you see? This is why I wondered if it's something shaly or something like that, because can you see how it's slightly banded material?
It is, yeah. So
that edge there looks like it's got an open trabecular structure to it, so that could be bone. I think that base is still continuing under there, you know.
well. Yeah, I think it is burnt bone.
There's a bit of the edge here, and I know it's a bit green here, so I don't know if it's really small, tiny fragments, or if it's something else that is stained by the metal.
Ah, there's another piece. A few extra brushes that I'm going to engage today. See the edge of the vessel starting to come around there. That piece of bone there is looking a bit suspicious. I'm not sure that's not worked. Still no sign of these flipping rock sets, which is a bit of a worry.
Just having a quick look at one of the CT scan animations, and it's this square structure which we thought was around the cremated bone. There's just no sign of it, not any wood, not a stain, nothing. So that's really quite confusing.
So that's the edge of the vessel, and the thing with the rivets, we think that's where they should be running across here. Well, there's no sign so far, but we shall see.
We remove quite a lot of soil here.
Yeah, so that's not the base of the vessel, is it? There, is it? So it's right at the base of the vessel, are those things?
Yeah, it seems so.
So they're potentially below the bone. Okay. There's a bit of worked bone, cone tooth, but it's not attached to anything. It doesn't look like it's burnt, but I'll have a little bit of look under a better light. Ah, that's what we saw. So that's the teeth you can see here, look, going off in this direction. That's the bar, the central bar that holds the two parts of the composite comb together, and those are the rivets that are holding it in place. So there we are.
Oh.
It wasn't an artefact of the CT scan, it was an artefact.
And it seems it was a double-sided.
I'm assuming it would, because that looks like that's what would be the composite bit of it holding those bits together.
I mean, that's what we saw on the CT scan.
Yeah, the CT scan suggested it was, yeah. I think what's happened, if it's broken off there at some point in antiquity and shifted across, look.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4. It seems to be after the rivet number 4. Well, I've just nipped outside because there's quite a few people in the lab at the minute and there's a lot of excitement. And Martin Carver has just popped in to have a look. But man, the rivets, it is a comb. It's a double-sided comb. Yeah, I'm just ecstatic and, as usual, a little bit emotional. It's just such a beautiful thing.
I'll just get that spoil out of the way and then...
Chance of it being complete, is it?
I think the base is going to be okay. I mean, even the sides, it's quite robust.
Gosh. Look at that. Oh, that's lovely, yes. Very exciting. I mean, it's obviously a very sort of popular myth. Clever woman, very fast moving, takes part in the hunt, gets the boar and causes mayhem amongst the men.
So this is the bit that Sophie's got in her hand right now. And it's Thomas has digitally unfolded it so you can see.
Oh, that's so clever.
You've got stuff on the other side as well. But it does fit.
That's somebody's head.
It is, and you can see which person's head, and it fits back really well.
That's lovely.
But yeah, with this kind of detail, I mean, you can even do studies and look at the depths of each punch mark, and you can learn about sort of the tool technology that way.
Yeah.
Okay, genuinely, I thought, this is another piece of charcoal. However, I'm going to put this straight under the microscope. It seems a little bit more fibrous. I mean, we had thought that the bone might have been in, say, a little pouch or an organic bag or something like that. That is the first thing that I've seen so far that's vaguely textile-like, so I will have a little look at that in a minute.
Can I see any decoration on that side plate? I can't see anything going off. This part is partly broken, and if there is any decoration, it could be also on the other side.
There's something textile-y about it. I might need to phone a friend.
It's very tidy.
It is very tidy. It must have been inside another container. So it'll have been inside a bag, probably, inside the vessel. You couldn't get something that tight just by putting it in the vessel, I don't think. So it's probably inside something. But we have got the additional thing here of it's being pulled. So it could be that in it being pulled, but if that is the case, when it was pulled, there was no soil in it, otherwise it couldn't have moved. So this is what is making me thinking it's probably more likely that it was in a bag. It was contained in some sort of bag inside here, because if this had just happened when it was damaged in the 1980s, there would have been soil in it by then. There's no way that it wouldn't have had soil going into it. So I think we're seeing the impression of what it would have been like when it was buried rather than anything else.
Well, this one are more...
Just little fine cuts, aren't they?
Yeah.
Very big calves, enormous calves they've got, and very tiny knees. But no, the size of those calves, I've never seen roundabout her up. And I love the feet, they're beautifully done, aren't they?
See it? That's the one where it's...
Yeah, that's fantastic. That joins really well. I mean, look how well the arm fits with what you've got there. And then it's interesting, the shield pointed at the top quite sharply. That's brilliant. we've got the base there as well now. Yeah, that's the base there.
Oh yeah, good.
And that looks very much like a piece of mandible from an animal.
Night, night, buckets. You have been a joy. You continue to be a joy until tomorrow.
Right, so what I'm doing now is I'm trying to take the bone out in a structured fashion. So we're still going down in bits, still doing it in an orderly fashion. But what I'm trying to do is also do some interpretation of which bones I've got. So I've done the drawing. I'm trying to annotate the drawing with which skeletal element I might have in here. As you can see, what happens is, because as you're cremating, you're dehydrating and you're oxidising the bone. So that's why it's got all these little fissures in it. That's dehydration fissures. Unfortunately, what happens when it's buried is soil gets into those dehydration fissures and it sort of gets wet, dry, and it breaks the bone up. So unfortunately, as I move it, inevitably it will break up into smaller fragments, which is why it's quite useful if, as I've got a large fragment, I'm taking it out. If I can identify the skeletal element, it's so much easier. I'm probably not going to take the whole of this spit out, because if you look, you can see now that really, although that little bit of bone looks to be overlaying the comb, everything else is underneath. You can see that that's underneath, and that would have been underneath as well. So if I can get some of these slid over that bone out of the way, that means that Sophie then can take over taking the, because that's going to be the long process, I think, Sophie, is you trying to get that out, isn't it? Are you loose yet, my darling? No. It's typical, this is. You spend 2 days trying not to move any bits of bone because you don't want them to come out of position. And when you want to move them, the flipping things won't shift. That looks mostly like a piece of pelvic bone, so the big blade that forms the main part of the pelvic bone. So that's a bit of that animal mandible. You know, we were talking about this yesterday, looking like an animal mandible. So that's part of that. It's very, very powdery. So you see what I'm looking at there. Lump of something charred organic. There's no real structure to it. It's just a lump of stuff. See those bits, it's quite interesting. If you have a look, there's bits of bone there that look to have gone outside where the rim of the vessel would have gone, where the outside of the vessel would have gone. I wonder if this really was incredibly tight cut, because that's just come away naturally to that point there. Yeah, that bit there, if you look at that surface, it's very, very straight and it looks very slightly polished. So I think it's a cut surface. If they'd been putting an animal on, and it's a big animal, you might cut it up because it's too big to go on the pyre. There's a variety of possibilities that could be at work there.
Should we treat it as a find? Give it a 3D and a photo?
Yeah, I think I would. I literally have seen thousands of burials and I've not seen in situ like that, so I think it is worthwhile doing. So yeah, I just think there might be another cut in there.
I was just trying to have a better look at this texture running along here, because it just looked a little bit odd at first, so I just want to check that it's not horncore or antler, because you get that kind of pattern on it. It's a little bit different to bone. However, as you can see, you've got if this was complete, it would make in section a D shape, and in section in a D shape, the element in a body, in an animal, say a sheep or something, that would be a little bit of sawn off metacarpal.
Oh, look at that. Well, there we are. That's better than I thought it would be.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, it's going to be crumbs.
There's no sort of grain-like structure for it to be wood or clearly not charcoal.
No, it doesn't look like wood or charcoal. This is why it's a bit odd knowing what it might have been.
Then when you turn it over, this just looks more like...
And it's not fired clay because it's not solid enough.
No, it's not.
These are the things that we managed to pick out on site, and these have got these lovely little ring and dot.
I absolutely love the dot
decorations
on anything, whether it's bone or pottery. But yeah, this is so beautiful.
But that's quite interesting because that looks like a ring and would have connected to another ring on one side.
Yeah.
So it might well be that we might be able to work out exactly what that pattern was.
That would be good.
Now, obviously, we haven't got the whole comb.
No.
But there could be two reasons for that. One is that this burial, the burial remains themselves, were quite disturbed. So we haven't got everything that would have gone in the ground to start with.
No.
But of course, these were on the pyre. This has been cremated.
Yes.
So the chances are they might not have picked up all the pieces off the pyre to put in the burial anyway.
Yeah, so the whole thing might not have even gone in originally in the first place.
Yeah, but this kind of item going on the pyre at this time was quite, when I say common, you do get them, they do occur quite a lot. And that kind of decoration is absolutely classic. They were obviously quite fond of having nice hair. And I suspect the chaps were quite fond of having their beards done as well, because you sometimes find smaller combs, which I suspect were beard combs and moustache combs. Yeah. So they were quite conscious of their appearance with these people at this time. We tend to forget that, you know. Yeah. People would be just as vain in the past, or just as, you know, your image was important.
Yeah.
And this is one of the things that helped you maintain it.
Absolutely. I mean, archaeologically, you find mirrors, you find tweezers, you find all kinds of things. So it stands to reason, you know, you'd have a nice comb in the different sizes, just like we do today.
Yeah.
I'm delighted to announce that we have some really, really, really small, very fragmentary, small plant stems. And to get the species from these individuals will be able to give us an idea of the sort of climate of the area and maybe even the seasonality of when the bucket was deposited.
Oh, crikey, I'm glad you're doing that and not me. Those teeth are actually holding together fairly well, aren't they?
Just some there, yes, they're separating.
Well, bearing in mind how poorly preserved unburnt bone from Sutton Hoo is,
yeah,
you know, it just does not preserve, and that has not been burned. And I know it's an artefact, but it's not been burnt, and to have that level of preservation even is really quite remarkable, I think, for this particular site.
Just wanted to stain the flat, please. There we go.
Okay. Ooh, a few.
Very well done.
Yes, I think you should breathe for a bit now. I think that's one of the few bits I can be confident is human, because that looks like the talus, and the other ones here, look. You can see the shape's the same. I know that's got a crack in it now, but that's what your tibia sits on. That's my favourite bone in the entire body. Your talus holds all of you up. He's done well to preserve that one. Look, can you see that stuff?
Okay.
That is underneath where the comb was. That's similar to the stuff we had, a bit similar to the stuff we had higher up. But I wonder if that's something to do with something the comb was either sat in or on. And it looks slightly greasier. You know what I mean? It's got that slightly... it's got an interesting sound as well. And it's actually sat right on the base looking. You never know, it might have preserved a bit better because it's next to the copper alloy.
Might give us a little chance at textile as well if there is.
Yeah, sure.
It's a good idea.
If you look right down here, you see those are the torn edges of the bucket where it will come up the sides. Now what's interesting about that is that looks to be where the bucket sat against the fill outside it. And if that's the case, that would suggest that this bone, which is going quite a long way down, was possibly outside the bucket to start with.
In the backfill.
Yeah, I mean, you do sometimes get that, where you get like an earned component or a contained component of the bone, and then some of the bone will also be placed in the grave fill, possibly originally in some kind of bag, you know, and that is something you see repeatedly in the Anglo-Saxon period. And the fact that it is just there and it goes so far down, like I said, suggests it's not stuff that's just been pulled out and dropped to the side. It was possibly there up against the side of the bucket to start with. So if you see that staining on there, that's copper alloy staining. So that suggests that bone was right up against it, and it may well be that the bucket was, well, rather this was placed up against the bucket. Because when the bucket's gone over, it's been pulled, so it's almost like you've got that plasticity in the soil, and it's moved it slightly. So it could well have been a fairly tightish cut. Do animal patella look like that? It's the only thing I can think of it looks like is patella.
Yeah.
That at least looks human, we'll have that. It's nice to have some human bone in here. It's going to come out in 2 bits. And there's blob number 1.
The way it looks, you can sort of, it's almost like it's got, not folds to it, but yeah, it's been squished and formed. It kind of reminds me like daub or, you know, badly fired clay balls. That's the consistency and structure of it, that's what it reminds me of. Not sure if it is though at this stage.
There looks to be slight fault in this there, look. Can you see it? It almost looks like it's very circular. Can you see?
Yeah.
Which is a bit odd. Unless that's maybe there's a hole in the bucket. Dear Liza. Try not to breathe too heavily. I knew that would come off, but it's going to come off whatever is that because it's so crumbly. So you can see it's here is the edge coming up, the curl there and there. So that bone is definitely outside it. So you can see very faint difference, grey, greyish brown, reddish brown, and the line is just about there. Yeah, that's looking nice there. When you cut a grave, you're normally backfilling it quite quickly, the same material. So there's a very, very slight difference between the grave fill and the natural, because they're more or less the same thing with just a tiny amount of stuff mixed in with them. So this has given us where the grave itself was cut. But it's going to be interesting to see underneath here, because we know there are lots of voids from the CT scan. And it looks like we've had something like moles. I think they're probably moles. Have been going along, making little tunnels. And that might be actually why the whole thing's collapsed slightly. It might not be due to it being disturbed by the plough. It could be it's been undermined by the moles and the whole thing's dropped. So it's going to be, taking this base out is also going to be a void of discovery to get a little bit more of the formation process that could have been affected by the moles. So possibly a mole in my bucket. It's moving right the way. It's not moving there, it's moving all the way around to that point there. Mm. That might go all the way across then, mightn't it? It's long enough. Yeah, that's moved. That's moved from that corner. I think that's moving. It's, I didn't see what it's doing here. Is it shifting here?
Oh, it is shifting.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm wondering how long the bucket is. Going to find the middle of it.
Yay. Wow, excellent. Oh, you can breathe again now. I can hear you not breathing while you're doing this. Now that's interesting because there's another little bit of tiny bit of fuel ash there, which...
And then you have the fragments from the edge.
It's not quite as voided as we feared it was going to be, actually. I think there's a void under there. Under there there is.
Clearly. You're free to go.
Yay!
It looks like we have the same slope on the bottom of the cut we've had on the bottom. So
yeah, but if it's this tight a hole and they hadn't got the base of the cut quite flat, they couldn't adjust it once it was in. Yeah,
would be about here.
Yeah, once they've got it into, they wouldn't get it out again. Oh, we'll have to leave it as it'll be light. Don't worry. You see from this angle with the oblique lighting, you can see the decoration on there.
Yeah, it's fine. There we go.
Yeah, that's grand.
Yeah, I don't think I can do much more.
Yeah, okay.
I think we should probably be expecting feet, shouldn't we, really?
So that's, I think, a shield here.
Yeah, yeah.
But is that the bottom, the very bottom of the rim? Is it?
I literally don't know. It could be.
It's a folded edge on the very bottom.
Yeah, it's shifting. It's moving. And it's not catching anything, so. Yeah.
Right. I'll be able to. Yeah, that's clearly a fit. It's a beads.
Oh yes, you can see the little green dot bits on here, can't you? Yeah, I think, that's the bottom of it, isn't it?
Yeah, that's the bottom of it. That's good.
So with any luck, that might, with both. Yay! Hey! Yes. Yeah. Excellent.
I did it.
Really good.
So there should be a leg. If it is, then that'll be the leg, back leg.
Oh no, hold on, isn't that a shield? And that's in the middle of the shield.
That could be a shield.
Point of a shield?
That could be the point of a shield. And you've got another leg, I think, coming through across here.
Yeah. If you look here with the image, this broken part is this part here. Mm-hmm. The line here.
Yeah. So you've got something in the middle there. Then you've got a leg across here that ends in a pore. And then if we angle that up slightly, a little bit further, so we can see, you can see that V going down there and coming back up. And that's the bottom of that shield.
That's the shield point, the end of the shield bit. Comes down into a point.
That's that last piece.
So yeah, there's a few frags.
There's a few frags
on that edge,
but you're not going to get big bits if there are big bits missing.
So
we can all it all.
I think that might be all of it.
So what we seem to have are a number of tiny plant stems, and these ones that look like match heads, I think we're back to some kind of fruit stems. And some of my other samples that I've been looking at, there are a few pieces that are akin to nutshell as well. So we could have a little fruit and nut situation going on. So what we have here, which does look like an origami swan at this point, we've got the very outer leaf of something, but it is very much a beautifully preserved leaf. So again, that is something we should be able to speciate. With the speciation, we can get, or I can narrow down a seasonal window, so we can get an idea of when the bucket was actually deposited in the ground, which is also nice, and also a bit of climatic indicator, which should hopefully match up with previous pollen analysis that's been done as well. So yeah, I'm absolutely thrilled, absolutely thrilled.
Yeah.
It's
Actually, holes.
there is no.
Is it here? Can you see the circles better on this side?
Oh yeah, you can see the circle.
They're actually much clearer on the scan, really, aren't they, than in real life?
Just this is really strange. Here it's just a bump, but here.
Do you think we could have a look under the microscope at it? It's just we were wondering whether we'd have any evidence of the bucket being wrapped in textile.
Oh, that's quite good. Oh, that's very good. You can see the dimple there, and that's the other dimple. But yeah, you've got this raised, and it's not. I thought, oh, is it a stone or something that's adhered to it? But it looks like metal, and that's top-down view now. It's kind of puckering up. I mean, you can see that it is metal right there. So I don't know. I mean, that could be a repair, and I guess until Sophie gets the sand out of it. So yeah, at this point it's just checking that we've got all the pieces of bucket, that there's nothing left behind. There's no other finds at all.
Okay.
Aww. I do feel a little bit sad now. It's
over.
It's over. Until next year. Dun, dun, dun.